Yeah, how are you doing, girl? Today is the 16th of August, 2019. And the first thing I'd like to say is I just want to say how much I love you. Um, I have a difficult time expressing the depth of my love for you sometimes. And, I want to describe it in a way that doesn't come off as tacky or sentimental or overwrought. And I'm really not quite sure how to do that. I just want to express the idea of me feeling just huge amounts of generosity and goodwill in your direction. For me, it's about letting go of all the stops. Say, if I were in a wagon and just having a willingness and an openness to just do as much as I can, however I am physically and financially and psychologically able. I know. I don't know what the source of this generosity is in my being. It's just powerful. It's just when I consider you and think of you, I radiate generosity. Everything that is mine becomes yours. I don't really know how to describe it, but I want you to know that the feeling is real, that I'm not exaggerating, that I'm not, there's no purpose for the expression that is underlying or hidden. It's just what is. And sometimes I think I don't express it with the frequency and intensity that I ought to be expressing it. But I want you to know that it's real and that it's a powerful force in me. And 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 I'd like you to see what potential lies in that for you and your interests and your needs, your goals, your development. I'd like you to see the potential. I would like you to see the hope for reuniting, rejoining, sort of reestablishing what we had. Now, I don't seek to minimize what we have now. I think we actually have a truly remarkable relationship. I really do. And granted, it may be something that only is true in my own mind. But you know what? That's good enough for me. It's good enough for me. It may not be good enough for others, but it's good enough for me. Am I left wanting more? Oh, yeah. I am longing for more. It's a deep, deep longing for as much juice as I can get from my dear daughter. Um, but at the same time, I also recognize that I have a life to lead. I have an amazing life that I'm leading right now, and it occupies a lot of my attention. And I'm grateful for what I have, powerfully grateful for what I have. And um, I really have a hard time. I really don't stop really feeling immense gratitude for the richness of my life. Well, there are a lot of people who don't have children. There are a lot of people that have children, but their children aren't healthy. There are a lot of people that have children, have healthy children, and children that dislike them. There are a lot of people who have got healthy people. They've got children. They've got healthy children. They have children that like them, but they can't like them back. They're maybe they have inabilities to relate to their children, despite their children wanting to know them. You know, and you know what? Despite some of the stories I tell myself about how poor things are going or how things need to change, I think deep down I've got this recognition that I've got it pretty good compared to some. And when I say compared to some, I might even say compared to most. I know. I know. Who else? What other fathers have a good relationship with their children and they have the freedom and autonomy that I have to take care of my own needs in my own life? I mean, how many people can say that? I don't think a lot of people can. So I really see myself as to being in a unique position, a unique value that I'm presented with, and 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 I'm going to enjoy that value that is you and our relationship. I'm going to enjoy that value as much as I can. Sort of just savor it as the years go by and cherish it. Honor this connection that we have. At times, I may think it is somewhat tenuous, but it's a connection nonetheless. It's something. It's more than something. And anyway, I just want you to know that I understand it and I acknowledge it. This is what is. And it's good. Could it be better? Oh, it could always be better. In fact, that's what human beings are so good at doing. I know myself as a human, I'm always looking to what's possible, right? Because I tend to be fairly optimistic. And sometimes I identify and attach to these optimistic visions about how the present or the future could, should, or ought to be. And when that doesn't materialize, I can feel a real sense of loss sometimes, a real sense of challenge. But, I guess what that means is, the lesson to be learned from that is to, do my best to enjoy hoping about the future and being optimistic about it. And if it doesn't happen, just be grateful for at least having had the vision and having seen the possible future for what it was, and reaping the joy that I harvested from that line of thinking. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing pretty fantastic. I have a feeling you're doing amazing now that you've returned to school. You're in high school now, and you're in your sophomore year, and how wonderful it is that you get to go to school at all, that you get to go to a school as good as Cabrillo High School, which is an amazing school. How wonderful it is that you get to go to school here in Santa Barbara County in California in the United States. I mean, what a wonderful thing. It's hard to, I think it's hard to put a price on a value as strong as that one, you know? And you're going to school at a time when knowledge is ever increasing and when there's so much to learn about artificial intelligence and robotics. Yeah. There's so much to learn out there. There's so many subjects to learn more about. And, speaking of subjects to learn more about, you being in school at all, I am going to school too soon. I've got a photography class that's showing up, I think Wednesday of this week, or it might be Tuesday of next week. So I'm looking forward to enjoying that class. I took a look at my textbook today. I looked through the chapters, and I'm hopeful that this class is going to be, I think it's going to be rather life-changing. Or at least what it'll do is it'll sort of improve the connection between my Canon M50 mirrorless camera and myself in my hand. I have been taking some photographs with it, but not as much as I probably ought to in order to maintain or to grow with it. I tend to take a lot of photographs using my smartphone, and I love my smartphone because it's there all the time, and the resolution on that camera is really, really good. But I'm exquisitely aware about how the quality of my photographs could be better if I took the time to use my mirrorless camera. And so it's kind of funny how there's like this dynamic, this interplay between values, a trade-off between, say, convenience and quality, right? My cell phone is a very convenient camera, but it doesn't have the quality of, say, my mirrorless camera. And, thankfully, the skill of a cameraman comes less from the camera itself and more from the camera person. Yeah. Oh, I'm showing you my new wrist strap for my watch. Yeah, I just got it. I think I just put it on today or maybe yesterday. So that needs a change every once in a while. I really like it. This is called a NATO strap, and I'm enjoying it. I know, Emily, at least at one time you had an interest in fashion, and I like changing out my watch wrist straps because they are, I like the novelty of the new strap, and I think they look pretty good. And for a man, it's nice to find an accessory that I can change out every once in a while that doesn't have any, so it's not signaling any messages that I don't want to signal. I know. So yeah. Oh, by the way, I on my trip to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to my 30-year high school reunion last weekend, I stopped by a shop in Ventura called Patagonia, and I am really loving that store. Serious. That's an amazing store. It's got so many great clothes, and I love the quality of the material, and I like the sizing. I must admit, though, sometimes the prices can be a little high. But I guess that's the price that you pay, literally the price that you pay for clothes that fit and clothes that you're going to wear. Because I have bought clothes that were mediocre, and I just don't wear them very much. And for me to find a brand that I like and that I can stick with, even if it's a little expensive, that's something significant. For example, one brand that I like to wear is Skechers shoes. I really love my Skechers, and I have figured out what size fits my feet, and I've also figured out what soles my feet like to uh, step into. And with that knowledge, of being of that brand and its consistent design, I'm able to um, make purchases online. So recognizing a brand and sort of even being brand, sort of shopping for the brand, it represents a convenience and an ease that is really pretty amazing. So I'm glad to know that I can pick up a Skechers designed shoe and have it fit, and it really helps me when it comes to ease. It also helps me when I want to make sort of new fashion choices, because I know where to go to experiment with the fashion that I want to try out. Because sometimes, I mean, I might try experimenting with a new shoe design, but if the shoe doesn't fit well or is uncomfortable, then it's not me necessarily trying out a new design as it is trying out a new fit. And fit, it overrides design every time. And so even though the design might be great, because the fit is poor, I might not wear the shoe. And so it's so nice to have sort of fit taken care of so I can play with design. Yeah. The same is true with these Patagonia products. I like the size small shirts and size small jackets. And that's great, because now that I've gotten fit taken care of, I can explore different varieties of design. And that's really powerful. In a way, it's also a very powerful incentive to try out new designs, right? And that strategy will help me become more fashionable and more expressive in my dress. And that's important to me. Okay. So, the title of this video is called Media and Psychology. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about something that I'm noticing regarding media and psychology in myself, in the hopes that you may watch this and be changed by it or be influenced by it a little bit. So, one thing I'm noticing, and it's pretty distinct and regular, it's that when I take time out to watch a video or listen to a radio program, I am noticing that my own personal behavior is influenced by that programming. And it's influenced, and there's a duration of the influence. I'm heavily influenced by any media I consume for about, I'd say, between an hour and 4 hours. I was about to say 6 hours, but I think it's about an hour and 4 hours. I'm most heavily influenced within, say, an hour of watching the media. And the things that I'm influenced by in the media are things like, well, the word choices, also the vibe of the show, whether it's the emotional, sort of the felt experience of the show. And for a person who's focused on sort of maintaining sort of control of their expression, I'm realizing that taking control of my media inputs is really, really, really important. In fact, the media that I input, say, just prior to a telephone call, will sort of express itself within the phone call. I'm noticing this. So any media that I watch just prior to, say, having a conversation, well, that media is expressed through me in my conversation in subtle ways. And uh, let's say if I'm watching a program that leads to some sort of like constriction in my body, some kind of tension, maybe word choices relating that border on fear or anger, well, then that'll show up a few hours later in my as I relate to other people in my circle. And this connection, I guess everybody kind of realizes it and recognizes it, but it's really powerful for me. It's it's got to the point where before an important interaction with people, I think I make a point to read a pleasant book, be at peace, listening to peaceful music, or whatever music will enhance my future experience, my present and future experience. I'll watch movies or stream videos that I think will have a positive impact on my future relating. And I've been doing this lately with some good results. And I just want to offer that to you, Emily, as a suggestion. And it's also like a warning. The warning has to do with the media you consume and then how it reverberates and resonates through your life. I think that I think they're becoming more and more thoughtful about it. But I think that in general, people don't necessarily make that solid of a connection between the media that they're watching and their behavior after they've watched it. And I think that the influences are not just subtle, although they often are, but I think they can also be quite dramatic. And the media that you consume, I think to some extent can dictate certainly your attitudes and your moods. It could also dictate the amount of emotional pain that you feel. Certain media can raise questions about controversial issues related to, say, climate change or energy or politics. And those media types have real impacts. I think they have real impacts. And so it's kind of funny. The more I'm focused on controlling my media consumption and ensuring that it's the kind of media consumption that I want to transmit into the world, the more I tend to exert even more control over it. Now, I'm not necessarily one who's an advocate of sort of blocking all media intentionally, right? So that media doesn't have access to me at all. I think that's going too far. I think it's important to be able to manage all sorts of incoming input, all sorts of incoming media. And so I wouldn't necessarily advocate for any restrictions of media. But I am an advocate for critical thinking about it. And also making choices in your media consumption that serve you instead of work against you. It's kind of funny. I have this joke about how there are people who are really worried about breast cancer or getting cancer, liver cancer, whatever. And they're having conversations about how they're concerned about cancer, while at the same time at the dinner table eating, say, a steak and drinking wine. that discrepancy between, say, what they're thinking and what they're doing is very apparent there. But I think there's another related, analogous situation, and that is someone who cares about peace in the world. Maybe they care about compassion and nurturing warm relationships, and maybe that's a life focus for them. And they're watching a horror movie, or they're watching 24-hour news broadcasts. you know, it's like, okay, I don't think these people truly recognize that when we absorb this information, that we express it, we radiate it, we're transmitting it through our bodies, through our language, through our movement, nonverbal and verbal language to others. And I think it's interesting. It's almost like there's this belief that there's no consequence. Oh, there's no consequence. When I believe that there is a consequence, and quite a serious one. Yeah. In a way, it kind of reminds me of like this obesity epidemic, right? So when I mentioned already that when I went to my 30-year high school reunion, one thing I noticed a lot was the obesity. It was just rife in all of my prior students' lives, almost all of my prior students' lives. Overweightness and obesity, a big challenge for them, and a big challenge for most. And the problem with obesity is you sort of regard the food that you eat as being of little consequence. I think there's I'll have this one slice of cake, or I'll have this donut just this once, or I'll have this soda pop, right? What can the harm be? I've been eating steaks my entire life. I've been drinking milk, full fat milk. There's something that's somehow is easily dismissed about food. It's like a nonchalant view toward food. Oh, you can eat whatever you want, and in whatever quantity you care for. And this whole this obesity thing, I look at my body and question, how did this happen? Of course, I'm exaggerating to make a point, really. My point is that I think anything that enters your body, enters your orbit, so to speak, it is within a certain proximity to you, has an impact on you. Your friends, your family, your coworkers. It could be the media you consume, the food that you eat. In a way, you're sort of a product of all these things. You're a sort of integrated sum of all of these things. The people you hang out with, about whether they're athletic or not, whether they're readers, whether they watch TV or the movies, or it's kind of funny how we are essentially an integration of everything around us. And we're even sort of an integration of, say, our home decor, right? The things that we keep that are in visual proximity. And I don't know, it's really profound, the extent of the influence these things can have on our lives. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and to help you sort of raise awareness about, this is actually good for a young person to hear, because as a young person, you might be developing certain goals, like you want to be, say, an architect or a programmer, or you want to be you're interested in computers or automation or robotics or biology, right? It just sort of goes to show just how important it is to surround yourself with who you want to be. If you want to be super wealthy and super rich, do what you can to hang around rich people, if that's what you want. I have a feeling that you will enable that in your life if you hang around people like that. So in a way, it's kind of, I'm being prompted by myself to ask questions about who am I hanging out with? Who do I want to be around? And I'll tell you, I love being around people who are great communicators, who are focused on their own personal growth and development. I love being around people who cherish the environment, the health and safety of people around them. That I love being around people who are engaged in self-compassion and self-care, where those things are a priority for them. I love being around people who are learners, who are active, physically active, who are passionate about life, who seek out joy and pleasure and fun on a regular basis. It's kind of interesting. What I'm describing are skill sets, right? Virtues. I'm also describing a lot of feelings. Joy, fun. Yeah. So these are the things that are important to me. Now, I know I asked for a second here, another question, and that is, did I say anything about money in that list? No, I didn't. I didn't say anything about the net worth of friends around me. Oh, he's got a net worth of $100 million. It doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. If, maybe, it's just not important to me. For me, other things are important. A love of learning, like a person who's willing to take steps to acquire new skills, and and just sort of enjoy those new skill sets, and even put them on display, present them to others in a performance of some kind. I don't know. I find that admirable. I also find people who inspire others to be quite admirable. I think of them as heroes. I want to be around people like that. I want to be around people who support other people, who do so through kindness and consideration, thoughtfulness and warmth. I want to be around people who have the ability to soothe others, who are insightful and incisive enough to create space for, creating joy and love in their lives. So that's what I'm all about. That's what's resonating with me right now. And what I describe has very little to do with horror movies. It has very little to do with violence or power over. It has very little to do with political power. It has very little to do with, I don't know. Anyway, I think you get the point. Miguel, can you elaborate on that subject a little bit more? I've only been talking about it for 30 minutes. Well, not quite. So, Em, back to you. So you're in class today, and I'm curious about what classes you might be taking. And if you're willing, if you're open to it, I would enjoy receiving a text that is like a photograph of your textbooks. Why, you might ask? I'll tell you why. I think it would be fun. I'd be happy to acquire one textbook or so, maybe two textbooks, probably just one, and follow along with your class. If it's a reading class or a literature class, I'd be happy to read some of the short stories along with you in your class and provide some feedback to you about my interpretations, my understanding of the themes, and give little book reports of the material. That sounds like fun. And plus, I like to read anyway, so. And I also acknowledge that I need to widen out in terms of my own literary consumption. So that would be exciting to me. And if it turns out that math is a place that you'd like to focus on and bring attention to, I'd be happy to work with you math problems, algebra. I need to refresh that myself. Geometry. Yeah, I would love to refresh myself on a little bit of geometry or trigonometry. Yeah, bring it on. A little college algebra or algebra at all, any algebra 1, algebra 2. That'd be exciting. To me, I'd find that really amazingly interesting. Or Emily, if you've got any design projects going on, like if you're taking a class in robotics, or maybe you're taking a class in oceanography, something like that. Any kind of science class, I'd think of it as a privilege to be able to follow along a little bit and get a sense as to what ideas you're considering in the moment. So let's see what else is going on. So I've got some exciting stuff going on this weekend. Today will be particularly exciting because I'm going to be fitted for a bicycle today at Hazards Cyclosports in Santa Barbara. And in fact, I'm pretty much on my way there in just about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to head on out to Santa Barbara and going to go get fitted for a bike. And there's a good chance that I'll buy a bike today. And so that's pretty awesome. That's cool. Looking forward to that experience. I really need to get a bike rack somehow installed on my bike somehow, on my car somehow, so I can transport the bike around. But I'm looking forward to receiving that bike and riding around with it. That sounds a lot of fun, like a lot of fun. Tomorrow, there's an event in Santa Barbara. Marianne Williamson, who is a candidate for president, I'll be out there at the Unity Church in Santa Barbara, sort of showing up and seeing what I can see there, learning about Marianne Williamson's ideas, and we'll see which direction what are ideas about what direction she wants to take the U.S. if she's elected. And so that's pretty exciting. Personally, I'm not really into politics that much, but there's something about this candidate that I really appreciate and enjoy. I've known about Marianne Williamson for a long, long time, and I've respected her very much, respected her work. And I've seen her interviewed many times on television. And one thing I like about Marianne Williamson is that she's very much a part of the circle that I hang with. These are people who are focused on, like I mentioned, personal growth, self-development. And Marianne Williamson has been sort of a leader in the field for quite a long time. And I acknowledge that. And so it's kind of neat to have someone from my circle, sort of like in the self-development crowd, be interested in politics and sort of advocate for change in the political arena. And so I'm interested in finding out more about what it's all about. And, heck, I'm willing to support anyone who is rallying around love and compassion for others. Whatever candidate is, focused on more authenticity and creating more value in the world as it relates to sort of improving relationships among people. You know, I'm definitely willing to support someone who's willing to at least say those things on the national stage. You know, you know, we'll see. We'll see if her message resonates with a national audience and with a worldwide audience. I think that's yet to be seen. But hey, we're still at the beginning stages. The beginning stages of human development, of world development, yeah, of our civilization's development, and we'll see where it takes us, right? And then Sunday, that was Saturday. Oh, I'm also going to be going to a friend of mine. She has a benefit concert going on Saturday afternoon at the Vets Hall. She's got cancer and she's doing a fundraising activity. So I'm looking forward to going out to support my friend, listening to some music, maybe doing some dancing. It won't be all the dancing I do because Sunday I plan to go to Dance Tribe, hang out there with all my peeps, with all the fam that's out there, my Santa Barbara fam, and all the essentially really the movers and shakers in Santa Barbara who are out there enjoying music and moving to music and just being part of that great vibration, being part of the cultural vibe that's out there, supporting music and musicians and their gifts and, all that work that they're doing out there to bring more joy to people's lives. Right. So that's my weekend. I actually am getting kind of excited about getting a bike. I'm kind of surprised that I'm as excited as I am about getting a bike. What's kind of interesting is that when I was a kid, I used to ride bikes all the time in Taos, New Mexico. And my bike was very important to me. I loved riding my bike. I had, what was it, silver or red Diamondback BMX bike. I think it was a red one. And my brother had a silver one. And boy, I tell you, I'd ride that bike all over the place. I would ride it fast. Did I have a helmet? You know what? I did not have a helmet. Oh my gosh. It's a little bit embarrassing to say. But I rode a bike and did not wear a helmet. And the times that I crashed, I'd never banged my head. So thankfully that's the case. That was true. But I did do things like I did crazy things on that bike, creating ramps. Basically I threw down onto the ground a cinder block and a board upon the cinder block, and that became a ramp for me. And I just didn't know about the necessity of having a helmet. Of course, now I know that. But yeah, I really used to love riding bikes, and I really hope to return to a time when I can enjoy riding bicycles. Absolutely. I think I want that in my life again. So we'll see how it goes. And let's see for how long that I can ride a bike without injuring myself. I wonder if I should wear like elbow pads and knee pads and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. The thing about riding a bike is that you could fall off of it, right? There's gravity is following you every moment. And it's just waiting for you to take a wild turn or hit an obstacle with your front tire. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully when I fall, I don't fall too bad. It doesn't mess me up too bad. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a bike today. Actually I've kind of been balancing in my mind how important it is for me to get a color I like. Do I care about the color? Do I want it to be red or green or white or gray, or is it important to me? I don't know. Should I customize the bike a little bit? Should I get like a little thing on the back to so that I could carry a bag or something like that? I don't know. Lots of decisions relating to bikes. We'll see. We'll see how it all goes. So I've got a really exciting weekend planned. I mean, I'm going to get a bike. I'm going to go to a political rally of some kind. I'm going to go to a benefit for a friend of mine who's got cancer. I'm going to go dancing. And I've got my photography class coming up next week. I mean, that's a ton of stuff. And so I must say that I really lead an amazing life. Oh, yeah. And, it's kind of funny. I sit right here in awe of what I think your life is going to be like in 20, 30 years. Now, in 20, 30 years, I'm going to be 70 or 80 years old. So I'll be enjoying a portion of that life that you have too, benefiting from medical science and technology and telecommunications. So thankfully, I'll be alive. I may not be alive much past that. 40 years from now, I probably won't be alive. Or if I am alive, I might be in a vegetative state. But I'll tell you, I'll be grateful for every moment I have in that vegetative state. So yeah. So that really is another message I have for you too, Emily. And that message is to protect and preserve your life. Try to steer clear of trauma to your body. Because if you do, that just means you'll be all the more healthy as you enter your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s at your age, as your age increases. I mean, if you mess up your elbow, when you're 20 years old, that means you've got to live with a bum elbow for 60 years before you die. Why do that to yourself? Protect your elbows. Protect all of your joints, right? Particularly your shoulders, right? Make sure your muscles are strong, your biceps are strong. Make sure your back is strong and your pecs are strong to protect this joint. Because I'm going to need this joint for the next 40 or 50 years. And, maybe having a temporary joint that's messed up is, not that much of a problem. But having it messed up forever, that's a problem. That's a problem. I mean, if you could just imagine how limiting it is. Of course, let me tell you what happens to the brain adapts to your environment. So I guess I'm thankful that I haven't had to adapt much. I haven't had that much disability in my life. So that's good. Not much physical disability. I've got to put that caveat on. Physical disability. Yeah. Oh boy. Em, I just want to say how much I enjoy having these conversations with you. You are really a big part of my heart and what keeps it beating. And I want you to know that you are valued, that you matter to me, that you're significant to me. And I also want you to know, in no uncertain terms, I want you to know very clearly this fact, that you are a wonderful daughter. That is a declarative statement. You are a wonderful daughter, and that statement is true to me. And The fact is, human interactions are such that we're always sort of doubting ourselves. Like, maybe I'm not that great. In our own inner voice, we might make statements about we don't know what we're doing, or we're failing somehow, or things aren't right. I just want to bring out the fact that that's your own inner voice, and it's not my external voice. It's not my internal voice either. It's your voice, right? And I know there's a really strong echo chamber that amplifies your own inner voice and the insecurity in that voice. But I want you to hear it from me, right? A fairly neutral observer from a distance. But things are good. Things are really good. And how things have unfolded just has been really natural. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's very natural and healthy and expected. And I am appreciating it, enjoying it as it is, and I accept it as it is. These are the decisions that we make. We're all making decisions all the time to the best of our ability. We're acting in ways that do the best to sort of help us get what we want, get what we need from the world. And, we're all doing a very fine job of it. And I want to suggest that you're doing a perfectly fine job of it now, too, with the decisions that you've made. So be it. So be it. What more can I ask for as your father than having a daughter who decides what she wants, right? I know. And who does so, with an eye toward increasing her autonomy from her parents, right? And sort of exercising her wings so that she can get more and more get a greater measure of freedom every day. And I feel really privileged to have a daughter who is even capable of doing that, of spreading her wings and flying away. And how many parents have had children that were not would not readily spread their wings and would not fly away and become autonomous beings on the planet? There's so many animals that are like that. So many children who are challenged by their environment and circumstance so that they can't fly. Maybe they lack wings, or lack coordination, or lack judgment somehow, or maybe for no fault of their own, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or just incapable of flying away from home. My child is capable of flying away from home, and doing so in a way that is majestic, magnificent, powerful. And that's my daughter. That describes my daughter right there. Majestic, magnificent, and powerful. What do you say about that, Emily? Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. So if I haven't expressed it enough already, I'm going to say thank you for everything that you've offered to me, for all the time that you've spent with me. And I'm going to do my best to continue to exercise my ability to make contributions to your life, and give you the physical resources that you need to grow and develop and mature into the remarkable woman that you are stepping into right now, every day of your life. And I'm going to go get a bicycle. Okay, girl. I love you very much and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.